Welcome to lesson 3. Okay, in this lesson we're going to cover decimals, addition, subtraction, and multiplication and division. Okay, the main thing to remember when you add and subtract decimals is you line up the decimal. If you add and subtract a decimal, you line up the decimal. So let's take a problem. Let's say 2.32 plus 4.1. Now the first thing I want to do is stack these, watching my decimal. Now addition, remember, is commutative. That means you can move these back and forth. You don't have to do them just like this. 2 plus 3 is the same thing as 3 plus 2. That's what commutative means. So I usually choose to put the smaller number on the bottom, whether it's last or not. But when I stack these, I'm going to have 2.32 plus, come over a little bit, 4.1. Okay? Now if there's a space empty, you can just fill that in with a 0, whether it's up here or down here. You just fill it in with a 0. Okay? Then you're going to add straight down. 2 plus 0 is 2. 3 plus 1 is 4. Bring your decimal down. 4 plus 2 is 6. Okay? So final answer here, 6.42. Okay? Line up the decimals. Subtraction is the same way. All right, let's look at one more example. Let's take 3 minus 1.21. Okay? And let's stack them. Now, even though the 3 is not showing a decimal, we know there is a decimal there. So it always goes at the end of the last whole digit. This can be 3.00. Okay? Now we have something that we can subtract. We are going to have to come over here and carry. So we'll make this a 2. Now when I carry here, I get 10. But I'm going to take 1 away, leaves a 9, gives me 10 here. And then I'm ready to subtract. 10 minus 1 is 9. 9 minus 2 is 7. Bring down this decimal. And 2 minus 1 is 1. So you have a final answer here of 1.79. Okay? And that's pretty much it for addition subtraction. Just keep your decimals lined up. Now in multiplication, you don't line up your decimals. You're going to just multiply, line up the last number, and then you count the decimal places and adjust for that at the end. For example, let's multiply 2.1 times 3.52. Now, the same way, this is commutative, so it doesn't matter which one I put on top or bottom. 2 times 3 is the same thing as 3 times 2. So I normally choose to put the number that has the fewest digits on the bottom. The 2.1 only has 2 digits. This has 3 digits. So I'm going to put the more digits on top. I'm not aligning decimals. And let me move this over a little bit so it's neater looking. Okay. Now, you're just going to multiply as usual. Multiply 1 times 2 times 5 times 3. Just like you did in the multiplication. Put a 0 down here because now we're 1 over. All right, 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry my 1. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. And then I'm going to add 2, 9, 3, 7. Okay, now you go back up to your original problem and you count how many digits or how many numbers did I have that were to the right of a decimal. Well, you had 1, 2, 3. Okay, count all of them. Then you're going to start right here at the end and you're going to count backwards that many places. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so your final answer to this problem would be 7.392. Okay, is that good? All right, let's look at one more multiplication problem. What to do if you don't have enough digits. Let's take 0.03 times 0.5. Okay, let's stack them. Put 0.03 on the top, 0.5 here, and then I'm just going to multiply. 5 times 3 is 15, carry my 1. 5 times 0 is 0. plus 1 is 1. Now when I go back and count, I've got 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal place. But I don't have 3 numbers here. So what do? You still start back here. I need 3. 1, 2, 3. Here's where my decimal goes. So just insert a 0. Okay? So final answer on this one would be 0.15. Okay? That just takes practice. So make sure on the worksheet that you're working them all until you get the correct answer. And then last but not least, let's look at long division with decimals. Let's get an example. 1.624 divided by 4. Now, when I put this in long division format, remember the number that's at the end goes outside the house. And then I'm going to have 1.624. Now you can divide decimals if you have them under here. You can't have any decimals here. And we're going to look at how to adjust that in just a minute. But let's just look at this one first. So this one is fine like it is. I don't need to manipulate this any. When you get ready to divide, you don't have to worry about tagging this decimal down under here with the work we're going to do. The only place that it's important that it be is in the same place up here. Okay? So I've got that done. Now we're just going to long divide as usual. 4 won't go into 1, so I'm going to have to move on over. 4 will go into 16 4 times. Now remember, you put your number over the last digit that you're using. Now stick it over here. All right, multiply. 4 times 4 is 16. I'm going to subtract and get 0. Then you want to bring down your next number, 2. Okay? You ask yourself, will 4 go into 2? How many times? None. It won't go into 2, so we're going to put a 0 here, and we're going to function just like we've been doing. 0 times 4 is 0. I'm going to subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2, and then I'm going to bring down a 4. Okay? Now ask yourself, 4 will go into 24. How many times? 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. You wind up with a 0 remainder. So 0.406 is your final answer. Okay? All right, y'all hanging in? One more example, I promise. Okay? One more example. Let's look at what to do if you have, say, 6.4024 divided by 2.12. Okay? Once again, we're going to put this number on the outside of the house, this number on the inside of the house. All right? Now, like I told you, you cannot have a decimal over here. Okay? You cannot have this decimal. So what you're going to do is you're going to move it. Now, what you're technically doing, because I want you to understand that there's a mathematical reason for everything you do. I need to move this decimal over here. Well, what I'm actually doing is multiplying by 10, or 100 in this case, however many it takes me to move the decimal over. So when I multiply this by 100, it just moves the decimal over and the numbers don't change. Anything you do to this number, you have to do to this one. So if you move this decimal over 2 places, you've got to move this decimal over 2 places. Okay? All right, I'm going to clean this up a little bit so we can see what we're working with here. Now all that's important is to make sure that that decimal goes in the right place here, and I'm ready to long divide as usual. All right, so I want to ask myself, well, I know 212 won't go into 6, it won't go into 64, but it will go into 640. So here's where my first number is going to go. It'll go into 640, I'm hoping, at least 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 2 is 6. All right? And looking into this number, it's not larger than this, which is good, but it's not a whole 212 smaller. So that's how I know I've picked the right number. Okay? I'm going to subtract. I need to come over here and borrow 1. So 10 minus 6 is 4. Nothing there. And then I'm going to bring down the 2. Now remember, it's not necessary to cart this decimal all the way down anymore. Once you get it up here, you're good. all right? Okay, now how many times will 212 go into 42? Well, that's going to be a big 0. It won't. 0 times 212 is 0. I'm going to subtract. So now I have the 42 and bringing down, the 4. Okay? Now I ask myself, how many times will 212 go into 424? Well, I'm thinking 2. Let's multiply. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. And 2 times 2 is 4. So we have a remainder of 0. Therefore, your final answer on this is 3.02. Okay? All right, now give these a try on the worksheet. This is lesson 3. If you're working from home, I'll have the link down in the description where you can go to find the worksheet. You can print it out with a key. And if this helped you out, be sure and hit the like button or even the subscribe button. And I'll see you next time.